His reward for helping an elderly woman in need was a pink slip. The following morning, 7 SUVs descended on his home, and the entire neighborhood assumed the worst. Yet, the reality behind that intimidating fleet would stun the whole town into silence. For Ronan Avery, it had all started with a simple act of kindness he never intended. The garage had been shuttered for 2 hours, the Augusta air hanging thick and oppressive, the scent of motor oil stubbornly clinging to his skin. He was just turning the final lock when a figure caught his eye. A petite, silver-haired woman, isolated by the curb at the edge of the deserted parking lot. Her electric wheelchair was listing precariously, its wheels frozen in place, a lone plastic grocery bag dangling from the handlebar like a flag of surrender. She seemed adrift, lost not merely in place but in spirit. Wiping his grease-stained hands on a rag, Ronan called out, "Ma'am, are you all right over there?" She turned her head, a slow, weary motion. I believe my chair has given up on me again. It just died, and now I'm stranded." Her voice quivered with fragility, though she managed a faint smile. Ronan knew he could have just walked away. It wasn't his problem, and the shop had its rules. Unyielding rules, enforced by his boss, Wade Pritchard, who had a zero-tolerance policy for any charity work on company grounds. But the tremor in the woman's hands as she fumbled with the joystick struck a chord deep within him. "Hold on a moment," he said. Tossing his keys onto the counter, he declared, "Let me have a look." He carefully guided her and the chair back into the cavernous garage bay. It was the bay where an old Chevy pickup sat, mid-break job, illuminated by the lonely flicker of a single fluorescent tube overhead. The light cast long shadows as Ronan knelt beside the wheelchair, meticulously inspecting its frame. "Oh, you don't have to go to all that trouble," she whispered. "I suspect it's finally given up the ghost. My son keeps telling me to get a new one, but, well, the money just isn't there right now." Ronan offered a faint, determined smile. "We'll see about that." He soon learned her name was Ethel Branson, a 79-year-old widow who had once been a beloved schoolteacher. For 40 years, she had resided in the same brick house just a mile down the road. She spoke with a soft, southern cadence that imbued her words with a gentle patience. Ronan pried the side panel open and instantly diagnosed the problem. A crucial axle bracket had been sheared clean through, and the main power connector was completely fried. To anyone else, it would have been a lost cause, but not to him. "Looks like she's seen better days," he mumbled, "but I might just have a part that will do the trick." He moved to his personal workbench, digging through boxes of salvaged parts, a private collection he'd amassed for side jobs and passion projects. When he came back, Ethel's eyes were wide with a fragile hope. "Do you truly believe you can fix it?" she asked. "Ma'am," he said with a reassuring grin, "I work on engines that cost more than my house. I think I can handle a wheelchair with a stubborn streak." That drew a laugh from her, a warm, genuine sound that seemed to push back the encroaching emptiness of the garage. For the next 40 minutes, Ronan worked with a steady hand and quiet focus. A brief shower of sparks erupted as he expertly soldered a new connection. The sharp scent of burnt metal briefly hung in the air. Ethel remained perfectly still, watching him as if she were afraid to blink and break the spell. Finally, he flipped the power switch. The chair whirred to life, and the indicator lights on the control panel glowed a vibrant, healthy green. She gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Oh my heavens, you actually did it!" Ronan rose to his feet, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow. "Should be good for another few years, provided you don't start drag racing with it." Ethel laughed through the tears that now glistened in her eyes. "You have no idea what this means to me, son. I truly didn't know what I was going to do." He just shrugged. "I'm just glad I could help." She reached into her purse, retrieving a folded $20 bill. "Please, you must take this." "I can't possibly let you do this for free," Ronan insisted, shaking his head firmly. "No, ma'am. You save that money. You might need it for batteries or groceries." "I'll be just fine," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "Are you certain?" he asked. "I'm certain," she affirmed, looking him directly in the eye before saying something that would echo in his memory for years to come. "Your mother must be so proud. They just don't make men like you anymore." He was at a loss for words. He simply offered a warm smile and assisted her into the seat, ensuring she could operate it without any difficulty as the motor whirred to life. As she reversed from the garage, the soft hum of the motor felt like a profound, quiet triumph. Before she departed, she glanced back at him. "My son is visiting next week. I'm going to tell him all about you. Perhaps he can send more business your way." Ronan just nodded, not giving it a second thought. "You take care now." She waved, then vanished down the dimly lit street. The chair glided steadily and true beneath the amber glow of the streetlights, and at that moment, he had no inkling of what was to come. But that one small act of kindness, just helping someone in need, was about to trigger a cascade of events that would irrevocably alter his life and the lives of everyone around him. But that night, as he switched off the lights and locked the shop door, he was completely unaware. He had no idea that another pair of eyes had already witnessed the entire event, and that person had no intention of keeping it a secret. The next morning, the shop carried its familiar scent of grease and coffee, just like every other Saturday. Ronan showed up early, as was his custom, a biscuit in one hand and his thermos in the other, humming softly to himself. He was still replaying the look on Ethel Branson's face when her wheelchair whirred back to life. He hadn't mentioned it to a soul. He felt no need to. It was simply the decent thing to do. The clock on the wall read 7:42 when the front door flew open with a bang. Wade Pritchard's heavy boots struck the concrete floor like pistol shots. Every mechanic in the garage froze. Wade was a large man, with thick, powerful arms, a flushed face, and silver hair slicked back in the style of an old-time country singer. He was a man of few words, but when he spoke, everyone paid attention. "Ronan," Wade barked, his voice reverberating through the service bay. "My office. Now." Ronan glanced at his coworkers. A couple of the mechanics feigned busyness, their eyes darting nervously between him and the office. He wiped the grease from his hands and made his way toward the small office in the back. Wade was already there, standing by the desk, clutching a printed sheet of paper. "Is something wrong?" Ronan inquired. Wade slammed the paper down on the desk. It was a grainy still from one of the security cameras. It showed Ronan kneeling beside Ethel's wheelchair in the garage. "You want to tell me what this is?" Wade's tone was sharp as ice. Ronan blinked, recognizing the scene. "Oh, that. The lady's wheelchair gave out right in front of the shop last night. I just gave it a quick fix." "A quick fix?" Wade echoed, his voice escalating with controlled rage. "You used my shop, my equipment, my electricity, to repair some random woman's little toy chair?" Ronan's brow furrowed. "That wasn't on the clock. I stayed late and did it on my own time." Wade moved in closer, his face just inches from Ronan's. "I don't give a damn when you did it. You don't lay a finger on anything in this garage, unless it's attached to a paying customer. This isn't a charity, Avery." Ronan took a deliberate, slow breath. "She's an elderly woman, Wade. Her chair broke down right outside our doors. What was I supposed to do, just push her all the way home? That is not the point," Wade snapped back. "You do not use my property for your personal side projects. Do you think this business runs on good intentions? You want to be a hero and fix junk for free? Do it in your own driveway." The words struck Ronan with an unexpected force. "I didn't take a single dime from you," he stated softly. "I used my own parts." "Doesn't matter," Wade snarled. "You crossed a line." For a few moments, the room fell utterly still, the silence broken only by the faint whir of a ceiling fan. Then, Wade reached into a drawer. He pulled out an envelope and slapped it onto the desk. "Your final check. We're done." Ronan could only stare at it, bewildered. "You're firing me? For helping someone?" Wade's lips twisted into a smirk. "For breaking the rules. Don't turn this into something it's not." Ronan's jaw clenched. "Are you serious right now?" "I'm dead serious. You don't run this shop." "I do. You're out." There was nothing more to be said. Ronan took the envelope, met his boss's gaze squarely, and walked out. The entire shop floor fell silent as he passed through. Not a single word was spoken, but he could feel the heavy weight of their stares, pity, guilt, perhaps, even fear. Outside, the morning sun felt harsh. He paused for a moment, just looking down at his hands. The very same hands that had fixed hundreds of cars, rebuilt engines, and returned people's livelihoods to them. Now, they were empty. He climbed into his old F-150, and he drove away, never once looking back. By noon, the news had already rippled through town. A few regulars at the diner were whispering about it. Between mouthfuls of eggs, one of them said, "Did you hear what Wade did? Fired Ronan just for fixing that old woman's chair." The small-town grapevine worked faster than the internet. By evening, it seemed like everyone in the neighborhood knew, as Ronan pulled into his own driveway. His neighbor, Elise Vaughn, waved from her porch. "Heard what happened, Ronan? You all right?" He managed a faint smile. "Yeah, I'll figure something out." She frowned, her expression softening. "You did the right thing, honey. Don't you let that man convince you otherwise." Inside, Ronan's house felt unnaturally quiet. He just sat at the kitchen table, staring down at his calloused hands. He'd worked for Wade for 12 long years. No write-ups, not a single problem. Now, it was all gone in an instant. But the more he replayed it in his mind, the less he felt any regret. He had done the right thing. He was certain of it. Still, that certainty didn't stop the anger from simmering just beneath the surface. He thought of Ethel's face, the pure joy, the overwhelming gratitude. And he wondered if she would ever know what that simple act of kindness had cost him. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Every time he closed his eyes, the same image burned behind them. Wade's condescending smirk, the flash of the camera, the envelope on the desk. He kept telling himself tomorrow would be better, that he'd start searching for new work. Maybe out in Macon or Savannah. There were always shops that needed a good mechanic. But a quiet instinct deep inside him. I told him this was far from over, because life doesn't always move in a straight line. Sometimes it circles back in ways you could never anticipate. Sunday mornings in Augusta were typically for coffee on the porch, with the sound of gospel music drifting through the neighborhood. But for Ronan Avery, it was an endless loop, replaying the same agonizing conversation over and over in his mind. Every venomous word Wade Pritchard had thrown at him was a fresh wound. He'd barely eaten, and the check from Wade remained on the counter, untouched. It was face down, as if it carried a blemish he refused to see. By mid-morning, he had to force himself to go outside. The sun was already casting sharp, unforgiving light across the street. He thought a drive might clear his head, so he slid into the seat of his old truck. He turned the key, letting the familiar rumble of the engine break the silence. But the small-town streets felt foreign to him that day. The familiar waves from his neighbors had been replaced by quiet stares. Some offered polite, tight-lipped smiles, while others quickly averted their gaze as he entered Harlan's diner for breakfast. The moment he stepped inside, the diner's usual chatter fell to a murmur. It wasn't hostility, just a palpable awkwardness everyone already knew. "Morning, Ronan," said Maggie Harlan, the owner, as she poured coffee into a chipped mug, her voice carrying a warmth that could soften the hardest of days. "You holding up?" Ronan forced a half smile. "Trying to. It just feels weird, not having anywhere to be on a Saturday." She gave a slow, understanding nod. "Wade's always had a cruel streak. You did the right thing for that woman. The whole town's been talking about it." He stirred his coffee, his eyes fixed on the rising steam. "I didn't do it for attention. It just didn't feel right leaving her there." Maggie leaned against the counter. "And that's precisely what makes it matter." Before he could answer, a man from a nearby booth spoke up. "Hey, Ronan, that lady you helped, she's the real deal, right? My cousin said she lives over near Pine Street." Ronan looked over at him. "Yeah, Mrs. Branson. Why?" The man nodded slowly. "My mom knows her from church. Said she couldn't stop talking about you." The comment caught him completely off guard. "Talking about me?" "Yeah," the man said with a grin. "Apparently, she told her entire congregation. Some angel in coveralls fixed her chair," she said, "and that you wouldn't even take her money." Ronan laughed softly, shaking his head. "Angel is a bit of a stretch. I just fixed a motor." Still, the words lingered with him. Angel in coveralls. That was a new one. After breakfast, he headed for home, his phone buzzing a few times with texts from his old coworkers. They were mostly short messages. "Sorry, man. Wade's a jerk. You did right." But one message stood out from the rest. It came from Neil Porter, one of the younger mechanics at the shop. "Man, Wade is completely losing it. Reporters came by this morning asking about you. Some lady from Channel 12 wanted your number." Ronan blinked. "Reporters? For what?" He didn't reply right away. He wasn't looking for the spotlight, and the last thing he needed was to be on the news. But curiosity eventually got the better of him. He turned on the TV around noon, and sure enough, there it was. A small local segment about a mechanic fired for helping an elderly woman. They didn't use his name, but the story was unmistakable. The anchor stated, "A local act of kindness has sparked a fierce online debate about compassion in the workplace." Ronan leaned back, staring at the screen. His story, something he thought would just disappear, was already spreading. Later that evening, as he was taking the trash out, Elise Vaughn from next door called across the yard, "Hey, Ronan, you might want to check your mailbox. Looks like someone left you a letter." He walked over and pulled out a small, white envelope with no return address. Inside was a handwritten note. "Thank you for helping my mother. You didn't have to, but you did. I'll be in touch soon." GB. Ronan frowned, reading it a second time. GB. He didn't recognize the initials. Maybe a member of her church, or perhaps her son. He went back inside. He set the note on the counter next to Wade's severance check, 2 envelopes, one that ended his job and another that hinted at something new. But that night, before he could think much more about it, his phone rang again. It was Neil. "Bro, you are not going to believe this," Neil said, his voice low. "Wade's losing his mind. The news people came back. They're camping outside the shop now, waiting to talk to him. And he's warned that if he finds out anyone has been talking, he'll start letting more people go." Ronan rubbed his temples. "Man, tell them to keep you out of this. The whole thing is already spinning out of control." "It's too late for that," Neil said. "They're saying the video of you helping that woman is all over the internet. Someone must have lifted it from the security cameras." Ronan went completely still. "What video?" "The one from the night her car died." Neil confirmed. "It's gone viral, man. People are calling you the mechanic with a heart." Ronan was trapped between a bitter laugh and rising panic. He had no idea any footage even existed. He switched off his phone, sat in the heavy silence, and let his eyes fall back to the note. GB. A cold certainty washed over him that whoever wrote this message wasn't finished, and whatever was coming next, it was going to be massive. Sunday night bled seamlessly into Monday morning, with Ronan not getting a single moment of sleep. He lay on his couch, eyes wide open, as the cold, blue glow of the television flickered restlessly across the wall. The story was spreading like wildfire, moving faster than he could possibly keep up with across every channel. It seemed every station had their own take on the mechanic who was fired for his kindness. Some managed to tell it accurately. Others twisted it into a sensationalized drama. But either way, the quiet life Ronan had always known was gone. By sunrise, his phone had completely erupted. Missed calls, a flood of messages. Even strangers on social media were desperately trying to reach him. He didn't answer a single one. He had no idea what he would even say. Around 8 a.m., he stepped out onto his porch, a coffee mug clutched in his hand. The morning air was thick with humidity, the ceaseless drone of cicadas already whining from the trees across the street. Elise Vaughn was trimming her rose bushes. She called out, "Are you planning to hide from the whole town, or are you going to say good morning?" Ronan offered a weak smile. "Morning, Elise. I wasn't expecting all of this." She set down her clippers. Wiping her hands on her jeans, she said, "Well, people love a story that makes them feel something, and yours." It struck a chord. He sighed. "I didn't want any attention. I just wanted to do the right thing. That's precisely why you're getting it." "Attention," she said. "Nobody does things like that anymore without expecting a camera or a thank you." He stared down into his coffee, mulling over how strange it felt to suddenly be that guy everyone admired. He'd gone from being a mechanic to a moral headline in a single night. Later that morning, his younger sister, Tara Avery, called from Savannah. Her voice was a tangled knot of worry and pride. "Ron, you're on the news again," they're saying. "People are writing letters to the shop owner, demanding you get your job back. Some reporter even came by Mama's old church, asking about you." He rubbed his temple. "Great, that's just what I need. You should be proud," she insisted. "You did something good." "I get that folks see it that way. I do," he said. "But I'm not trying to be some kind of local hero. I simply helped a lady who was in a bad spot." "Yeah, well, that's precisely why people are so drawn to it," she replied. "The world is starving for stories like that." He let out a soft laugh under his breath. "Guess so." After he hung up the phone, he tried to resume his day. He cleaned the garage, changed the oil in his truck, and mowed the lawn. But no matter what he did, that envelope remained on the kitchen table. It was right beside the one from Wade. GTB. Those 3 letters stared back at him like an unsolvable riddle. By mid-afternoon, he resolved to pay a visit to Ethel Branson's home. Perhaps she held the key to the sender's identity. He navigated through her tranquil neighborhood, a quiet street canopied by towering pecan trees, before pulling into her driveway. There she was, sitting on her porch with the newly repaired wheelchair parked at her side, a warm smile spreading across her face as he approached. "Well, look who it is," she called out. "My miracle mechanic." He let out a soft laugh, replying, "Just making sure that chair is still holding up." "It's running better than I am," she quipped. "Come on up, I've made some sweet tea." Ronan took a seat beside her, his glass already sweating in the humid air. The old porch creaked with every gentle breeze, a rhythmic sound in the afternoon heat. Your story is making the rounds, she said, breaking the silence. People have been calling me non-stop all weekend, asking about you. I saw, he admitted. I never intended for it to become such a big deal. Well, maybe it was meant to, she mused thoughtfully. Sometimes, the right thing finds its way into the light, even when you're not looking for the spotlight. He nodded, his gaze fixed on the shifting sunlight in her yard. Have you ever heard of someone named GB? Her eyes instantly brightened with recognition. Oh, that must be my son, Graham. He's a lawyer down in Atlanta. I told him all about you the very minute this chair came back to life. Why? Did he write to you? Ronan retrieved the letter from his pocket and passed it to her. She read it over slowly, a knowing smile appearing. That's his handwriting. All right. If he said he'll be in touch, then he will. He's not one to make empty promises. Ronan chuckled softly. I guess we'll find out what that means. Ethel studied him for a long, quiet moment. You know, Ronan, she began, you remind me so much of my late husband. He worked with his hands, too. He always said that tools don't make the man, his heart does. I see that same heart in you. Her words struck a chord far deeper than she could have known. As he departed, the sun was beginning its descent, and the burden on his shoulders felt noticeably lighter. That night, however, the silence returned, the heavy kind that feels like a weight pressing down on your chest. He found himself at the kitchen table once more, idly flipping the GB envelope open and closed, consumed by the possibility. Would Graham Branson truly reach out? He had no way of knowing that by morning, wondering would no longer be necessary. Because when 7 black SUVs silently converge on your street before sunrise, wondering ceases to be an option. Ronan was jolted awake by an unfamiliar sound. It was a low, steady rumble that had no place on his peaceful street. The clock showed it was barely 6 a.m., the sky just beginning to fade from black to gray. His first thought was thunder, but then he heard the distinct crunch of gravel outside his window, the sound of multiple, heavy engines, all perfectly synchronized. He shot up in bed, his heart pounding against his ribs. Through the blinds, he could see headlights, far too many of them. He pulled the curtain aside, his breath caught in his throat. 7 black SUVs were lined up across his property, stretching down the street like a tactical convoy. For a stunned moment, he just stared. This kind of scene was completely foreign to his quiet neighborhood. He quickly threw on a t-shirt and a pair of jeans. Grabbing his phone, he stepped out onto the porch. The morning air was thick and heavy, the kind that seems to muffle and slow every sound. The doors of the SUVs opened in near-perfect unison. Men in dark, tailored suits emerged, moving with a quiet and unnerving precision. They weren't police, not local deputies. These men had a federal look about them, their expressions unnervingly calm and completely unreadable. One of them, a tall man with salt and pepper hair and mirrored sunglasses, stepped forward. He didn't appear threatening, just intensely serious. Mr. Avery, the man inquired, his tone perfectly polite, yet undeniably firm. Ronan hesitated, his mind racing. Yes, that's correct. The man offered his hand. I'm Graham Branson. I understand you recently made my mother's acquaintance. It took Ronan a moment for the connection to spark, GB, to the letter. Oh, he uttered, the realization dawning on him slowly. You're that GB. A subtle smile touched Graham's lips. That would be me. Behind him, another man opened the rear door of an SUV. From within, a woman emerged, Ethel Branson, looking both radiant and slightly overwhelmed, dressed impeccably with her hair pinned neatly back. Her smile was broad and genuine. Morning, Ronan, she called out cheerfully. I told you my boy would find you. He blinked, still struggling to process the scene. Mrs. Branson, what's happening? Graham gestured towards the house. May we come inside? We would prefer not to discuss this on your driveway. Ronan hesitated. 7 black SUVs and a lawyer on his front lawn was a lot to take in. It was far from a normal morning, but something in their composed demeanor assured him this wasn't trouble. Yeah, sure, he finally managed, holding the door open. Once inside, the other men remained stationed near the entryway. Meanwhile, Graham and Ethel took a seat at his kitchen table. Graham removed his sunglasses, folding them precisely beside a leather briefcase. Mr. Avery, he began, his voice calm and steady. My mother informed me of the incident at the repair shop. I've also acquired the security camera footage from your former employer, the same video that has been circulating online. A knot formed in Ronan's stomach. I wasn't the one who posted that. I had no idea there was even a camera. Graham nodded. I'm aware. I had it taken down through legal channels. I'm an attorney, not a journalist. Ethel leaned forward, adding, "He saw everything you did for me, Ronan. Every single second of it." Graham's expression softened. "You didn't hesitate to help her, and you had no idea who she was. You didn't ask for a single thing in return. That speaks volumes about your character." Ronan uneasily rubbed the back of his neck. "I just did what any decent person would have done." "That's just it," Graham said quietly. "Not everyone would have." He opened his briefcase, retrieved a large envelope, and slid it across the table. Inside is a formal offer. "I am the owner of Branson Vehicle Systems in Atlanta. We manage fleet servicing for both corporate and municipal clients. We are in need of someone who understands both engines and integrity. My mother is convinced you possess both." Ronan blinked, his gaze fixed on the envelope. "Wait, you're offering me a job?" "Not just a job," Graham corrected. "A leadership position. Full salary, comprehensive benefits, and relocation assistance. We can discuss the specifics after you've had a chance to review it." Ethel beamed. "I told you he was a man of his word." Ronan let out a light laugh, steeped in disbelief. I don't know what to say. Just say you'll consider it." Graham offered a smile. "That's all I'm asking." Ronan leaned back in his chair, the weight of the moment sinking in. As the morning light sliced across the room, he contemplated how his life had shifted from losing a job to having 7 black SUVs parked in his driveway, and a corporate attorney offering him a major position, all because he repaired a broken wheelchair. It felt completely surreal. "You know," he said slowly, "when Wade fired me, I started to think that helping people was just bad for business. I guess I was wrong." Graham's expression grew thoughtful. "There is nothing wrong with doing the right thing, Mr. Avery. Some people simply fail to see its value until someone else points it out." For the first time in days, Ronan felt a profound shift inside him. Perhaps it was relief, or maybe just the heavy weight of recent events finally starting to make sense. Ethel reached across the table and gently patted his hand. "You have a good heart, son. Don't you ever let anyone make you feel ashamed of it." Ronan managed a stunned smile. "Thank you, ma'am." As he spoke, Graham stood and began buttoning his jacket. "We'll give you time to consider the offer. My office will follow up with you tomorrow, but whatever you decide." My mother and I wanted to express our gratitude in person. Outside, as the SUVs pulled away one by one, curtains began to twitch all over the neighborhood. By the time Ronan turned back to his house, Elise Vaughn was already on her porch, hands planted on her hips. "What on earth was that all about?" she hollered across the yard. Ronan just smiled. "It's a long story, Elise, and it might be the start of a whole new one." But deep down, he understood this was only the beginning, because when life gives you a second chance, it rarely does so quietly. The rest of that day felt completely surreal to Ronan. Every few minutes, he found himself staring out the window. He was half expecting to see those black SUVs still there, but the street was quiet again, almost too quiet. The envelope from Graham Branson sat unopened on his kitchen table. Ronan must have circled it 10 times, constantly picking it up and setting it back down. He rubbed his thumb along the sealed edge, wanting to believe this was real, that someone actually wanted to reward him for the very thing that had gotten him fired. None of it made any sense. Finally, around noon, he sat, took a deep breath, and tore it open. Inside were official documents printed on thick, cream-colored paper. A job offer. There was an official letterhead, formal signatures, and a first line that made his hand freeze. Position: Senior Fleet Operations Supervisor, Branson Vehicle Systems. Salary: $102,000 annually. Location: Atlanta, Georgia. He read it again, slower this time. Then he read it once more. It wasn't a prank. It wasn't some elaborate stunt. It was completely legitimate. Ronan let out a quiet, disbelieving laugh. This can't be real. Before he could fully process it, his phone buzzed with an unknown number. He hesitated for a second before answering. "Hello? Mr. Avery," came Graham Branson's calm, assured voice. "I wanted to make sure you received the paperwork." "I did," Ronan replied, his voice distant. "I'm still trying to believe it's not a dream." Graham let out a soft, knowing chuckle. "That's understandable. I needed you to see it for yourself before I explained why I'm really doing this." "All right," Ronan replied, his voice steady. "I'm listening." A heavy silence hung on the line before Graham finally spoke. "My mother's wheelchair wasn't just old. It was the very last thing my father built before he passed away. She refused to even consider replacing it. It was her most cherished connection to his memory. That night, When you repaired it, you gave her far more than just her mobility back. You restored a piece of him for her. Ronan sat in stunned silence, the words sinking deep as Graham continued. I've watched that footage, more times than I'd care to admit. The way you treated her, with such patience and profound respect, that's something that can't be taught. You had no idea anyone was watching, and you clearly weren't seeking any credit. That, right there, is true character. Ronan swallowed hard. I honestly didn't think it was that significant. It was significant to her, Graham said quietly, and to me, my mother has been through an immense amount of pain since my father was lost. You reminded her that true kindness still exists in this world. That's not a small thing, Mr. Avery. In fact, it's exceptionally rare. For several seconds, neither man uttered a word, with only the faint hum of the refrigerator filling the charged silence. So, Graham added, breaking the quiet, if you're willing, I would like you to come to Atlanta this week. Meet my team, see our operation. If it's not the right fit for you, I'll completely understand. But I have a very strong feeling you'll belong with us. Ronan massaged his temples. This was an overwhelming amount to process. I know, Graham said, his voice calm. Take all the time you need. My assistant will forward the hotel arrangements to your email. All expenses are covered, of course. You helped my mother without a moment's hesitation. The very least I can do is ensure you're treated with the same consideration. Ronan was at a loss for words for a long moment before he finally spoke. I honestly don't know what to say other than thank you. I never imagined that helping someone could spiral into all of this. Graham replied softly, that's precisely why it did. When the call ended, Ronan sank back into his chair, his eyes transfixed on the documents. His mind drifted back to Wade Pritchard, who was likely still behind that same desk, red-faced and barking orders at anyone who crossed his path. The image brought a fleeting smile. He didn't crave revenge or wish the man any harm, but a part of him wondered how Wade would react if he saw this new offer letter sitting right beside that final, insulting paycheck. Later that afternoon, Ronan resolved to visit Ethel again. He owed her that much. As he pulled into her driveway, he found her in her garden, her gentle hands carefully pruning the hydrangeas. She glanced up and smiled warmly. I was wondering when you'd stop by. I take it you've heard from Graham? Ronan held up the envelope. You could say that. Ethel chuckled softly. He's remarkably quick when he wants something done. That's his father in him. I just wanted to thank you, Ronan said sincerely. None of this would have happened if you hadn't spoken up. She waved his words away. Oh, hush. You earned this yourself. I simply told the truth. He sat on the porch rail as she continued her work. You raised a good man. Her eyes softened. I tried to. He's a lot like you, actually. He does what's right, even when it isn't popular. They talked for a while longer about small things, the weather, cars, her late husband's workshop, but beneath the calm conversation, something deeper resonated. It was a mutual understanding that one single moment of kindness had fundamentally rewritten both of their lives. As Ronan drove home, the immense weight of the past few days began to dissipate. Maybe life did balance itself out, just not always on your own timeline. He parked the truck, stepped out, and looked down the quiet street, the very same street that just 24 hours ago had been swarming with imposing black SUVs. He couldn't help but smile. But as evening descended and the news van started to congregate outside Pritchard Auto, Ronan realized his story was far from finished making waves. And Wade Pritchard was about to learn that some transgressions have a way of coming back to haunt you with surprising speed. By Tuesday morning, the story had escalated from local gossip to national news. Major outlets were replaying the same 45-second clip on a loop. Ronan, kneeling beside Ethel's wheelchair, under the harsh fluorescent lights of Pritchard Auto, his hands so steady, his voice a beacon of calm. It was a surreal sensation, watching himself on television. He wasn't accustomed to attention, let alone this wave of public admiration. A reporter's voice narrated, "What began as a simple act of kindness in Augusta, Georgia, has ignited a national conversation about compassion and decency in the workplace." Ronan switched off the TV. He wasn't built for this kind of spotlight, but the world, it seemed, had other plans. That afternoon, Graham Branson called once more. "Mr. Avery, I know it's been a whirlwind," he said, "but I'd like you to come to Atlanta tomorrow. Bring whatever you need for an overnight stay. My team is very eager to meet you." Ronan, still in a daze, agreed. Yet, a part of him remained convinced none of it was real, fearing it would all vanish if he so much as blinked. The following morning, He ironed a fresh shirt. He selected one of his few shirts, untainted by grease, and was on the road before the sun broke the horizon, the highway unfolding like a silver ribbon. It cut through the dense pine forests as the sky blushed with the dawn, guiding him across the city line until he arrived at his destination. Branson Vehicle Systems headquarters. The stark contrast struck him immediately. Gleaming glass towers and secured gates. Immaculate lawns stood in another universe from the gritty concrete floors of Wade's garage. Inside, a receptionist offered a warm welcome. She presented him with a visitor's pass, and just moments later, Graham emerged, his suit immaculate and his smile at ease. "Mr. Avery, I'm so glad you could make it. How was the drive-in?" "Peaceful," Ronan replied, shaking his hand. "I have to admit, I'm not sure I fit in a place like this." Graham chuckled. "You'd be surprised. Some of the finest people we have here started in small garages, just like the one you run." He then led Ronan on a tour of the building. They passed rows of engineers, technicians, and other staff, all moving with a quiet, intense focus as the facility hummed with energy. Yet it wasn't chaotic, it was the sound of purpose. They concluded the tour in a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the company's vehicle testing grounds. A binder and a steaming cup of coffee were waiting on the table. "I'll get straight to the point," Graham said, taking a seat opposite him. "You've already reviewed the offer, but I want to ensure you fully grasp the scope of the role. You would be overseeing the complete operations for our fleet maintenance program, managing everything from repairs and logistics to training. You'd have a full crew reporting to you, and you'd have access to the finest equipment in the entire state." Ronan glanced down at his calloused hands, where faint traces of grease remained etched into his skin. The kind that soap could never quite wash away. "Sounds like an immense amount of responsibility," he murmured. Graham smiled. "That's because it is, and I am entrusting it to you." Ronan studied him for a long moment. "But why me? There must be 100 people more qualified." "Perhaps," Graham conceded, "but I've learned something vital in this business. Skill is something you can teach, but character is not. You've already demonstrated which of those you possess in abundance." Ronan took a sip of his coffee, a small gesture to conceal the emotion welling in his throat. "I appreciate that, sir." "Please don't call me sir," Graham said with a grin. "It makes me sound like my father." A soft laugh was shared between them, and the tension in the room finally broke. Following their meeting, Graham introduced Ronan to several key members of the team, including mechanics and supervisors. He met office staff as well, each one greeting him with genuine curiosity, and a few even recognized him from the news reports. One technician, Drew Coleman, gripped his hand firmly. "Man, you're the reason I decided to get back into this line of work. I saw that clip of you online. It reminded me why I fell in love with fixing cars to begin with." Ronan let out a small chuckle. "I certainly didn't expect to inspire anyone. I just repaired a wheelchair." "That's exactly the point," Drew insisted. "You did it because it mattered." As the day drew to a close, Graham invited him to dinner at a quiet downtown restaurant, and over plates of steak and glasses of sweet tea, their conversation meandered away from business, touching upon family, faith, and the peculiar ways life chooses to test a person. "You know," Graham began, "when I was young, my father used to tell me that the truest measure of a man is what he does when no one is looking. You reminded me of him today." Ronan nodded slowly. "My mother used to say something very similar, that you don't help people for the applause. You help because it's the right thing to do." "I guess both our parents were onto something," Graham said with a warm smile. "It certainly seems that way." Before they parted for the night, Graham handed him a hotel key card. "Get a good night's rest. Tomorrow, we can finalize all the details, assuming you're ready." As Ronan stepped out into the warm evening air, for the first time in years, as the city lights danced against the skyline, he felt a sensation he thought was long gone. It was the same thrill he'd known as a young man breathing life back into his first car, pure excitement. He was a stranger to the world of corporate dealings, contracts, and six-figure paycheck. But what he understood with absolute certainty was this. For once, doing the right thing had led him to a place he actually wanted to be. Yet, as he settled into the quiet of his hotel room and switched off the lamp, his thoughts inevitably drifted back to Augusta, picturing Wade Pritchard, trapped and pacing in his own office. He imagined the reporters swarming outside, a community finally seeing the man behind the facade. But tomorrow promised a reckoning all its own. A reckoning that would make Wade curse the day he'd so carelessly tossed that paycheck onto the floor. Back in Augusta, the sweltering heat was relentless, but it was nothing compared to the scorching glare of the spotlight now fixed on Wade Pritchard's garage by the middle of the week. Local news vans had formed a barricade along the street in front of Pritchard Auto, their cameras aimed like weapons at the faded sign and grimy glass doors. His mechanics huddled in anxious clusters outside, their whispers lost in the pretense of work. The story had gone viral, and it was no longer just about Ronan Avery. It had become about Wade himself, the man who punished a good deed. Inside his office, Wade violently slammed the blinds shut. Muttering a stream of curses, he seethed. These vultures. They don't have a clue what really happened, barking the words into the empty room. His assistant, Trudy Lang, hovered nervously at the doorway, clutching a perpetually ringing phone. "It's Channel 9 again," she announced, her voice barely a whisper. "They're asking for a comment. Tell them I have nothing to say," Wade snapped, causing Trudy to flinch. She hesitated for a moment. They said they've already spoken with Mr. Avery and with the woman, Mrs. Branson." The words stopped him cold. "They what?" Trudy nodded, her voice dropping even lower. "Apparently, her son is some high-powered attorney. He's the one who told them that you're the kind of man who punishes good deeds." A dark crimson flush crept up Wade's neck. "That's a lie. That's slander." "Sir," she said softly, "it's on camera." The fight drained out of him as Wade collapsed into his chair. He rubbed his throbbing temples as the phone continued its incessant ringing. Reporters, customers, even old friends, all of them demanding answers. A handful of his most loyal clients had already canceled their upcoming appointments. The online reviews were a bloodbath, with words like heartless and disgrace littering the comments. Out on the shop floor, the younger mechanics exchanged uneasy glances, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Neil Porter leaned toward a coworker, whispering, "You think he's gonna have to shut down? Because this looks really bad." "Man," the other mechanic just shrugged. "I just know I don't want to be in his line of fire today." Then, around noon, a sleek black sedan glided to a stop outside. Two men in sharp suits emerged, immediately swarmed by local reporters, with microphones extended and cameras rolling, their target clear. "Mr. Pritchard," one of them shouted, "do you have any comment on the termination of Ronan Avery?" Enraged, Wade stormed out of his office, his chest puffed out, his eyes narrowed to slits. "I don't owe anyone a statement. This is a private business matter." But the reporter stood his ground. "Sir, the community is demanding an apology. Some are even suggesting your actions were motivated by something other than business. Do you have a response to that allegation?" The air became electric. The mechanics froze in place. Wade's jaw clenched. "You people always twist everything. That man violated company policy. It had nothing to do with anything else or any of that nonsense. So you stand by your decision then?" The reporter pressed, refusing to back down. "I stand by my right to run my business as I see fit." The cameras captured every venomous word, every fleeting flash of rage. Within a matter of hours, the clip was everywhere online. Wade Pritchard, red-faced and defensive, looking precisely like the villain he desperately claimed not to be. Meanwhile, 200 miles away, Ronan was seated in a polished conference room at Branson Vehicle Systems. As he was signing his new contract, the contrast could not have been more stark, with Graham Branson standing right beside him. Offering a solid handshake, he said, "Welcome to the team, Mr. Avery." Ronan smiled with humility. "I appreciate it, sir. I won't let you down." "You already haven't," Graham replied. "Now, let's get you a tour of your department." Ronan followed him through the expansive facility, meeting his new crew, shaking hands, and exchanging genuine laughs. Everyone there seemed truly glad to have him, not because of some viral video, but because of the man behind it. That evening, after his first official day, Ronan sat in his hotel room, watching the news again as a headline scrolled across the screen. "Mechanic fired for kindness, hired by Atlanta firm. Former boss faces backlash." The footage of Wade's outburst played immediately after. Reporters narrated over the clip, mentioning the community protests and boycotts that were now forming around Pritchard Auto. One customer on camera declared, "You don't fire a man for helping an old lady. That tells you everything you need to know about his character." Ronan felt no satisfaction in watching it, only a profound sense of clarity. Justice didn't always require revenge. Sometimes it worked quietly through truth and timing. His phone buzzed once more. This time it was a text from Elise back home. "Your old boss just had to shut down the shop for the day. There are folks picketing outside. You did good, Ronan. I'm proud of you." He smiled softly, and then another message arrived. This one came from an unknown number. "You changed more than one life this week. Don't forget that, G-boy." Ronan set the phone down and leaned back in his chair. Maybe Graham was right. A good character couldn't be bought, but it certainly could open doors. The very next day, a new video surfaced online, showing Ethel Branson being interviewed in her garden. With sunlight on her face, she said, "That young man didn't help me for money or for praise. He helped me because it was right. The world needs more people like him, and fewer people trying to punish them for it." Her words spread faster than any headline, and the comment sections filled with gratitude, support, and deep admiration. People began sharing their own stories of quiet kindness. Somewhere in Augusta, Wade Pritchard watched that interview in stony silence. His own phone buzzed, but this time it was a message from his landlord, reminding him his business lease was now under review. For the first time in a long while, Wade sat perfectly still, realizing that decency wasn't a weakness, it was a power he had grossly underestimated. Yet for Ronan Avery, this was just the beginning of rebuilding. Not about revenge, not about fame. It was about a new life, built on the same principle that started it all. Doing what's right, even when no one is watching. By the following week, Ronan Avery's name had become more than a headline. It had transformed into a symbol, one tied to decency. It represented humility and quiet courage. But for him, the fame meant nothing. He just wanted to get back to work. He wanted to build something with his hands and earn back his peace. At Branson Vehicle Systems, the days passed quickly, and the garage floor was spotless. The tools were organized in perfect rows, and the smell of metal and oil was strangely comforting. It wasn't home, but it was close, and the people there treated him as though he had always been part of the family. One morning, as Ronan was going over maintenance schedules with a technician, Graham walked in. "You're adjusting fast," he said with a grin. "Most people take weeks to find their footing." A smile touched Ronan's lips. "When you've spent your entire life mending what's broken, you learn how to adjust." Graham then presented him with a small box. "This is for you. Consider it a welcome present." Ronan lifted the lid and discovered a pristine set of custom tools, each one engraved with his initials, R.A. He blinked, completely taken aback. "You really didn't have to do this." "I wanted to," Graham insisted. "You reminded me of the reason this company was founded, to fix what's broken. And that doesn't just mean machines." Ronan felt the weight of a wrench in his hand. He admired its perfect balance. "Thank you, truly." Graham placed a supportive hand on his shoulder. "There's something else, too," Graham added. "My mother has been asking after you. She's keen to come by and see the facility, perhaps to thank the team for everything they did for her." Ronan let out a soft chuckle. "She has no need to thank anyone. She's already done more than enough for me." "Try telling her that," Graham said with a laugh. "She's stubborn. It runs in the family." Sure enough, 2 days later, Ethel Branson arrived at the facility. She was dressed in a pale blue cardigan, her silver hair styled in a neat pin, and her eyes sparkled with unmistakable pride. The entire team paused their work as she wheeled into the workshop. "Well, I'll be," she declared, a wide grin spreading across her face. "This place looks cleaner than my own kitchen floor." The staff erupted in laughter as Ronan approached, wiping grease from his hands with a rag. "Mrs. Branson, what brings you here?" "I came to see where my favorite mechanic landed," she replied, "and to make sure they're treating you properly." A warm smile spread across Ronan's face. "They're treating me just fine, ma'am." Her gaze swept the room, her eyes glistening slightly. "You know, when you repaired my chair, I initially thought it was just a fortunate encounter, a kind stranger lending a hand. But I've come to realize it was something much bigger than that. You started something, Mr. Avery." He shook his head in humble disagreement. "I didn't start a thing. I just fixed what was broken." She pointed a gentle finger at him. "That's where you're mistaken. You reminded people what it means to be human. I've received letters from people I've never even met, telling me they saw that video, and it inspired them to do something kind for someone else. That's because of you, son." Ronan was at a loss for words. The workshop fell silent for a moment, the profound weight of her words hanging in the air. It was Graham who finally broke the silence. She's right. You know, what transpired between you and my mother served as a reminder to people that common decency still has a place in this world, and it's something we could all use a little more of. Ethel beamed warmly. And to think, it all began with a broken-down wheelchair and a man who simply refused to walk away. That afternoon, they gave Ethel a complete tour of the facility where she watched engineers running diagnostics. She observed mechanics inspecting engines and found herself smiling each time Ronan explained a complex process in meticulous detail. It was clear she now saw him as one of her own. Just before leaving, she turned to Graham and said, "You know, I believe you should make him the face of your community outreach program. He certainly has the heart for it." Graham glanced at Ronan. "She might just be onto something," Ronan chuckled. "Now, hold on a minute. I only just started working here." "Exactly," Graham affirmed. "And you've already accomplished more than most people do in a full year." The three of them shared a quiet, profound moment of understanding. It was a connection that required no grand words or formal speeches. Later that night, long after everyone else had gone home, Ronan remained behind as the facility's lights dimmed one by one. While wiping down his workbench, he paused, his gaze falling upon the newly engraved tools. For the first time in a very long while, he felt a sense of pride, not just for surviving everything he'd been through, but for the man he had managed to remain in spite of it all. Just then, his phone vibrated with a text from Elise, all the way back in Augusta. "They've posted a sign at your old shop. Closed until further notice. You're still the talk of the town." "You did good, Ronan." He smiled, typing back. "Just tell them I did what any decent person would have." Her reply came instantly. "Maybe, but most people wouldn't have." Ronan set his phone down. He glanced around the quiet workshop, contemplating how much had been transformed in a single week, from humiliation to hope, from loss to a new sense of purpose. But deep in his soul, he knew this wasn't the end of his story. It was the start of something much larger, something that would endure long after any viral clip or headline faded. Nearly a month had passed since that Friday night when Ronan Avery stayed late to mend a stranger's wheelchair. It was a small act that, at the time, felt like nothing more than common decency, a gesture he would have offered to anyone who needed help. But standing now before a group of young apprentices at Branson Vehicle Systems, he was beginning to realize the true magnitude of that moment. It hadn't only changed his life, but the lives of others as well. Graham had convinced him to speak to the company's new trainees, most of them fresh out of trade school. Ronan wasn't one for speeches, but he'd agreed. He stood near the open garage bay, the air thick with the scent of motor oil and metal. With his hands resting on a toolbox engraved with his initials, he cleared his throat. "I'm not much for talking," he began, his tone steady, "but I'll tell you all something I learned the hard way. Doing what's right doesn't always pay off immediately. Sometimes it costs you first." The group listened intently as he continued. "I lost a job because I helped somebody who was in a helpless situation. My boss said I broke the rules. Maybe I did, but I would do it again without a second thought, because the rules aren't what define your worth. Your actions do." A young apprentice raised his hand. "Sir, were you scared when you got fired?" Ronan offered a faint smile. "Yeah, scared and angry. You pour years into a job, do everything right, and still get tossed out like you don't matter. It gets in your head, but fear is just noise, son. What truly matters is what you do after it stops shouting." Graham stood at the back, arms crossed, a proud grin stretched across his face. Ronan went on, "See, life has a way of testing your patience before it finally rewards your purpose. That night, when I saw that woman struggling with her wheelchair, I didn't just see a stranger. I saw my own mother. I saw every person who has worked hard their whole life, just hoping for a little kindness when they need it. So I helped, and that one choice, that $5 fix, it changed everything." Another apprentice asked, "Would you ever go back to that old shop?" "If they asked you," Ronan chuckled. "Not a chance. But I don't hate the man who fired me. Truth is, I ought to thank him now. He taught me something important. Some people are so focused on what's profitable, they forget what's valuable." The room fell silent for a moment, everyone absorbing his words. As it happened, Ethel Branson was there, too. Sitting off to the side in her wheelchair with a proud smile, she raised her hand playfully. "Mind if I say something, Mr. Avery?" Ronan grinned. "Please, go right ahead, ma'am." Ethel turned to the apprentices. "This man here didn't just fix my chair, he fixed my faith in people. Don't ever think your job is just nuts and bolts. Sometimes, you're holding someone's whole world together. and you don't even realize it. Applause filled the room. It wasn't thunderous, but it was real, the kind that comes from genuine respect. After the session ended, Ethel and Ronan sat outside under the shade of a pecan tree. The city traffic hummed faintly in the distance. She sipped her iced tea. "You did good in there," she said softly. "I never thought I'd live to see the day you'd be giving speeches," he chuckled. "Neither did I," Ronan admitted. "I was just hoping not to stumble over my own words." Ethel smiled, a familiar twinkle in her eyes. "You know, after my husband passed away, I used to pray I might meet someone who reminded me of him. Someone honest, humble, and kind. Then you appeared in that grease-stained uniform, mending what everyone else had written off as impossible." Ronan regarded her with warmth. "I suppose we both found a bit of luck that night." She reached across, her hand gently resting on his. "No, my dear," she corrected softly. "Luck had nothing to do with it. That was grace." He didn't offer a rebuttal. He simply sat with that thought, allowing its weight to settle deep within him. Later that evening, after seeing Ethel safely home, Ronan found himself driving through the heart of downtown Augusta. The sun was sinking toward the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant streaks of orange and purple. His route took him past the old Pritchard Auto building, now a hollow shell with boarded-up windows and a sign bleached by time. He pulled over across the street, just watching. The anger, the bitterness, it was all gone. All that remained was a quiet sense of closure. Sometimes things have to fall apart so better things can be built. The following day, Ronan returned to work feeling more centered than he had in years. He was no longer chasing recognition or trying to prove a point to anyone. He simply wanted to continue doing what he had always done, mending what was broken, one piece at a time. When Graham approached his workstation that afternoon, he began. "You know, Ronan, I've been giving it some thought. We should launch something new, perhaps a community repair initiative. Pro bono work for people who can't afford it, we could call it. The Avery Program." Ronan blinked, processing the words. "Are you serious?" Graham nodded, his expression resolute. "Completely. Let's make kindness an official part of our business model." A slow smile spread across Ronan's face. "Well, if we're going to do that, then we're going to need a much bigger toolbox." They shared a laugh, and in that moment, it was as if the camera of life began to pull back, revealing the bigger picture, the man, the garage, and the profound lesson learned. The story of Ronan Avery was settling into something timeless. It wasn't just a viral video or a fleeting headline, but a lasting reminder. Because sometimes, a single act of kindness can do more than just fix a broken wheel. It can help steer the entire world back toward what truly matters. So if you are watching this, remember that integrity still counts, that kindness still matters. And if you ever find yourself wondering whether doing the right thing is truly worth the effort, just ask yourself this: how could it possibly not be? Subscribe for more true stories that remind us all of what our humanity is supposed to look like when we have the courage to choose it.